I've always believed in the power of small acts of kindness. As a hairstylist, it was easy for me to find ways to make someone's day better, even if it was just a simple haircut. My name is Anna, and this is the story of how a single act of kindness changed my life forever. It all started on a sunny Tuesday morning. The birds were chirping, and there was a gentle breeze in the air as I unlocked the door to Ruby's Hair Haven, the salon where I had worked for the past 5 years. I was preparing for a busy day ahead, setting up my station and making sure everything was in place for my first client. As I stepped outside to grab a quick coffee from the stand across the street, I noticed Aaron sitting on a bench nearby. Aaron was a veteran who had fallen on hard times. He was a familiar face in our small town, and everyone knew about his struggles. He looked scruffy and downcast, his once proud demeanor now overshadowed by the hardships he had faced. "Good morning, Aaron." I greeted him with a warm smile. "How are you doing today?" Aaron looked up, surprised to see me. "Morning, Anna," he mumbled, trying to muster a smile. "I'm hanging in there. Want some coffee?" I asked, pointing towards the stand. "My treat." "Oh, I wouldn't want to be a bother," he replied, shaking his head. "Come on, Aaron. It's just coffee. Let's go." I insisted, gently pulling him up from the bench. As we walked to the coffee stand, I could see the gratitude in his eyes. We ordered 2 cups of coffee and sat down at a nearby table. "So how have you been?" I asked, genuinely interested. Aaron sighed. "It's been tough. Ever since my wife left, things haven't been the same. I've been struggling to find steady work, and some days it feels like the whole world is against me." I reached across the table and placed my hand on his. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Aaron. You deserve better." He looked at me, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Thanks, Anna. That means a lot." An idea struck me then. "You know what? Why don't you come by the salon later today? I'll give you a haircut free of charge. It's the least I can do." Aaron hesitated. "Oh no, you don't have to do that. You've already done enough." "I insist," I said firmly. "Come by whenever you're free. I'll be waiting for you." "Thank you, Anna. I'll come by this afternoon," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. Later that afternoon, Aaron walked into the salon. I could see the apprehension in his eyes, but I welcomed him warmly and sat him down. "All right, let's get you looking sharp," I said, wrapping a cape around his neck. "How have you been holding up?" Aaron sighed, a weary look on his face. "It's been tough, you know. Trying to find work, dealing with everything alone. But people like you make it a bit easier." As I started cutting his hair, we continued to chat. He told me stories from his time in the military, the friends he had made, and the challenges he had faced. It felt good to listen, to be there for him in a way that went beyond just cutting his hair. "I miss those days," Aaron said, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. "Back then, I had purpose, I had a team. Now it's just me against the world." "You're not alone, Aaron," I said softly. "You have a whole town that cares about you, and you have me." Just as I was finishing up, my boss, Mrs. Ruby, walked in. She was a stern woman, always focused on the bottom line. When she saw Aaron, she immediately demanded payment. "What's going on here?" she asked, her eyes narrowing as she looked at Aaron. "I'm giving Aaron a free haircut," I explained. "He's had a tough time and I wanted to help." Mrs. Ruby's face turned red with anger. "I didn't build this business by giving away free services," she shouted. "If you can't pay, then you're fired, Anna." I was stunned. I couldn't believe that an act of kindness could lead to this. Aaron tried to intervene, but I told him it wasn't his fault. "Mrs. Ruby, please," Aaron began, his voice shaking. "I didn't ask for this. Anna was just trying to help." "Enough," Mrs. Ruby snapped. "Get out, both of you." As I gathered my things and prepared to leave, I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. But as I looked at Aaron, I knew I had done the right thing. And somehow I felt that this was just the beginning of something much bigger. The bell above the door jingled as Aaron walked into the salon that afternoon. The hesitant look on his face told me he wasn't sure about coming, but I was glad he did. I greeted him with a warm smile, trying to ease his nerves. "Hey, Aaron. Come on in and make yourself comfortable," I said, guiding him to one of the styling chairs. "Thanks, Anna," he replied, still a bit unsure. "I'd appreciate this, really. Don't mention it," I said, fastening a cape around his neck. "It's the least I can do. Now, let's get you looking sharp." As I started to work, we fell into an easy conversation. Aaron told me more about his time in the military, sharing stories that ranged from the harrowing to the heartwarming. I remember this one time Aaron began, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. We were stationed overseas, and one of my buddies had this crazy idea to build a makeshift grill out of scrap metal. We ended up having the best barbecue in the middle of nowhere. I laughed, imagining the scene. That sounds amazing. It's those little moments that keep you going, right? Exactly, he said, his eyes momentarily brightening. Those were the good times. It's just hard to adjust now, you know? I can only imagine, I replied, focusing on trimming his hair just right. But you're doing your best, and that's what matters. Plus, you have people here who care about you. We continued chatting as I worked, and I could see Aaron gradually relaxing. It felt good to be able to offer him a bit of normalcy, a bit of kindness in a world that hadn't been kind to him. Just as I was putting the finishing touches on Aaron's haircut, the front door swung open, and in walked Mrs. Ruby. Her presence immediately changed the atmosphere. Mrs. Ruby was a no-nonsense woman in her early 50s, with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue. She was always focused on the bottom line, and today was no exception. She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw Aaron in the chair. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice icy. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I'm giving Aaron a haircut. It's on the house." Mrs. Ruby's face turned red with anger. "On the house? Anna, we don't give away free services. If you can't pay, then you're fired." Aaron, looking flustered, tried to speak up. "Mrs. Ruby, please. I didn't ask for this. Anna was just trying to help." Mrs. Ruby cut him off. "I don't care if she was trying to help. This is a business, not a charity. Now either pay up or get out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mrs. Ruby, this is ridiculous. Aaron didn't come here asking for a free haircut. I offered because he needed it." "That's not how we run things here," she snapped. "Pack your things, Anna. You're done." I felt a lump in my throat as I realized she was serious. Aaron looked devastated, and I knew I couldn't let him feel responsible. "It's okay, Aaron. This isn't your fault," I said, trying to reassure him. Aaron stood up, visibly shaken. "I'm so sorry, Anna. I didn't mean for this to happen." "It's not your fault," I repeated, looking at Mrs. Ruby with a mixture of sadness and resolve. "I'd rather lose my job than lose my kindness." Mrs. Ruby glared at me. "Kindness doesn't pay the bills, Anna." I gathered my things, my heart heavy but my spirit unbroken. As I walked out of the salon, Aaron followed me. "Anna, I can't believe she did that," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be," I replied, giving him a small smile. "We'll figure this out. Somehow, we'll figure it out." As we stood outside the salon, the afternoon sun casting long shadows, I knew that this was just the beginning. A small gesture had set off a chain of events that would change everything. I just didn't know it yet. The weight of what had just happened still lingered as I walked home. Fired for a simple act of kindness. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Aaron walked beside me, his expression filled with guilt and worry. "Anna, I don't know what to say. This is all my fault," Aaron said, breaking the silence. I shook my head, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. "Aaron, please don't blame yourself. This isn't your fault. I chose to help you because it was the right thing to do. If Mrs. Ruby can't see that, then I don't want to work for her anyway." We parted ways, and I spent the rest of the afternoon reflecting on what had happened. It was a difficult moment, but I knew deep down that kindness was always the right choice. Little did I know that the news of my firing was spreading through the town like wildfire. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of knocking on my front door. I opened it to find my neighbor, Mrs. Harris, standing there with a determined look on her face. "Anna, I just heard what happened at the salon," she said, shaking her head. "I can't believe Mrs. Ruby fired you for helping Aaron. That's outrageous." "Thank you, Mrs. Harris," I said, touched by her concern. "It's been a rough couple of days, but I'll be okay." "You're not alone in this, dear," she replied firmly. "The whole town is talking about it. We're all behind you." As the day went on, more and more people stopped by to offer their support. It was heartwarming to see how the community rallied around me. By the afternoon, a small crowd had gathered in front of my house. Among them were some of my regular clients from the salon, friends, and even people I didn't know well. One of my regular clients, Mr. Thompson, stepped forward. "Anna, we've been talking, and we don't think it's right what happened to you. We want to do something about it." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," I said, feeling overwhelmed by their kindness. "I appreciate all of you so much." Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice from the back of the crowd. Anna. It was Aaron, looking both nervous and hopeful. He made his way to the front and addressed everyone. I know what happened to Anna was because of me, he began, his voice shaking. But she did something kind, something that this town should be proud of. I don't want her to suffer because of me. The crowd murmured in agreement, and I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Aaron continued, I've been thinking, and I believe we can turn this around. Anna deserves better, and we can help her get back on her feet. Mrs. Harris nodded enthusiastically. That's right. We can support Anna by spreading the word and making sure everyone knows what happened. We can also help her start her own salon. Imagine Anna's salon where kindness is always on the menu. The idea took hold quickly, and before I knew it, plans were being made. People offered to donate supplies, equipment, and even their time to help set up the new salon. It was incredible to see such unity and generosity. Mr. Thompson turned to me. Anna, we want to help you open your own place. It's clear that you have the support of this community. What do you say? I was speechless, my heart swelling with gratitude. I don't know what to say. Thank you, everyone. This means the world to me. Don't thank us yet, Mrs. Harris said with a smile. We've got work to do. But first, there's someone here who wants to have a word with you. I turned to see the mayor of our town, Mr. Wallace, stepping forward. He had a serious but kind expression on his face. Anna, I heard about what happened, he said, and I want you to know that we appreciate your kindness and the example you set. As a token of our gratitude, I have something for you. He handed me a certificate of recognition and a substantial monetary reward. This is from the town to help you start your new salon. We believe in you, Anna. I was overwhelmed with emotion as I accepted the certificate and the envelope. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Thank you, everyone. I don't know what to say. Just promise us one thing, the mayor said with a smile, that you'll keep being the kind, generous person you are. This town needs more people like you. I promise, I said, my voice choked with emotion. As the crowd cheered, I realized that I wasn't alone. The power of community had lifted me up, turning a moment of despair into a beacon of hope. With their support, I knew I could make a difference, not just for Aaron, but for everyone in our town. This was just the beginning of something beautiful. With the outpouring of support from the community, it felt like a dream coming true. I had always imagined opening my own salon, but I never thought it would happen like this. The very next day, the plans to set up Anna's salon were in full swing. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers from the town volunteered their time and resources to help. Early in the morning, the site for my new salon buzzed with activity. It was a small but charming space on Main Street, not far from Ruby's Hair Haven. People arrived with paint, furniture, and equipment, ready to transform the empty shop into a welcoming beauty haven. Good morning, everyone. I greeted the volunteers with a beaming smile. Thank you all so much for being here. I couldn't do this without you. Mrs. Harris, ever the organizer, clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. All right, folks, let's get started. We have a lot to do today. The energy was infectious. Teams were assigned to different tasks, some painting the walls, others assembling furniture, and a few setting up the reception area. I was in the middle of it all, guiding everyone and making sure everything was coming together. As I was helping to arrange the styling stations, Aaron walked in. He looked around, taking in the flurry of activity. Wow, Anna, this is incredible, he said, his voice filled with awe. I can't believe how many people are here to support you. I smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. I know it's amazing, and it's all thanks to you, Aaron. Your story brought us all together. He shook his head. No, Anna, it's because of you. Your kindness is what inspired everyone. We continued working side by side, arranging mirrors and setting up the shampoo stations. At one point, Mrs. Harris called me over. Anna, we need your opinion on the front desk. What do you think of this one? She asked, pointing to a beautiful wooden counter. It's perfect, I said, running my hand over the polished surface. It's exactly what I envisioned. As the day progressed, the salon began to take shape. The walls were painted a soft lavender, giving the space a warm and inviting feel. The new chairs and styling stations gleamed under the bright overhead lights. It was hard to believe that just a day ago, this place was an empty shell. Around noon, we took a break for lunch. Mrs. Harris had organized a potluck, and everyone brought dishes to share. We gathered in the back of the salon, sitting on makeshift seats and enjoying the food. "Anna, this lasagna is fantastic," Mr. Thompson exclaimed, taking another bite. "You're going to have to give me the recipe." I laughed, feeling a sense of camaraderie and joy. I can't take credit for it. That's Mrs. Harris's specialty. As we ate, the conversation turned to the future of the salon. People shared their ideas and suggestions, and I felt a wave of excitement. This was more than just a business, it was a community project, a symbol of what we could achieve together. After lunch, we got back to work with renewed energy. By late afternoon, the salon was nearly complete. We were adding the finishing touches, hanging mirrors, arranging products on the shelves, and setting up the reception area. Just as we were putting the final touches on the decor, the mayor, Mr. Wallace, arrived. He had a proud look on his face as he surveyed the transformation. "Anna, this is remarkable," he said, shaking my hand. "You and the community have done an outstanding job." "Thank you, Mr. Wallace," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. "I couldn't have done it without everyone's help." The mayor smiled. "This town is lucky to have someone like you. We're all looking forward to the grand opening." As the day came to an end, we stood back to admire our work. The salon was beautiful, a true reflection of the kindness and support that had brought it to life. I felt a sense of accomplishment and gratitude that was hard to put into words. Aaron walked over, a big smile on his face. "Anna, this place is amazing. You did it." "We did it," I corrected, giving him a hug. "This is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what the future holds." With the salon ready, we began planning the grand opening. It was going to be a celebration of community and kindness, a new beginning for all of us. And as I looked around at the smiling faces of my friends and neighbors, I knew that anything was possible. This was more than a salon, it was a testament to the power of coming together and supporting one another. The grand opening of Anna's salon was a day I would never forget. The whole town seemed to gather on Main Street, their faces alight with excitement and anticipation. Balloons and banners decorated the storefront, and a red ribbon was stretched across the entrance, waiting to be cut. Mr. Wallace, the mayor, stood beside me with a pair of oversized scissors in his hand. "Ready, Anna?" he asked, a warm smile on his face. "More than ever," I replied, feeling a mix of nerves and exhilaration. With a snip, the ribbon fell away, and the crowd erupted in cheers. People flooded into the salon, eager to see the transformation and to book their first appointments. It was a whirlwind of smiles, congratulations, and the sound of laughter filling the air. One of my first clients was Mrs. Harris, who had been instrumental in getting the salon ready. As she settled into one of the styling chairs, she looked around with satisfaction. "Anna, this place is even more beautiful than I imagined," she said, beaming. "You've really outdone yourself." "Thank you, Mrs. Harris," I replied, feeling a swell of pride. "I couldn't have done it without you and everyone else." As I worked on Mrs. Harris's hair, I couldn't help but notice how lively the salon was. Each station was occupied and the waiting area was buzzing with chatter. Aaron had volunteered to help out for the day, greeting clients at the door and making sure everyone felt welcome. "Hey, Anna," he called out from the front desk. "We've got a full house here. People are lining up to get in." I laughed, feeling overwhelmed by the support. "That's amazing. We'll make sure everyone leaves here happy." Throughout the day, I moved from client to client, each interaction reminding me why I love this job so much. I listened to stories, shared laughs, and made sure everyone felt special. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of community and joy. In the late afternoon, Mr. Thompson, one of my regular clients from Ruby's Hair Haven, walked in. He gave me a wink as he took a seat in my chair. "Anna, I had to come see for myself," he said, a twinkle in his eye. "I knew you'd do something incredible." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," I replied, starting on his haircut. "I'm so glad you're here." As I trimmed his hair, he leaned in slightly. "You know, Ruby's Hair Haven is practically empty these days. Everyone prefers coming here. I think you've got a real success on your hands. I couldn't have done it without the support of this wonderful town," I said, feeling grateful. "It's been amazing to see how everyone has come together," he nodded. "Well, you've earned it, Anna. Your kindness has brought out the best in all of us." By the time evening rolled around, the salon was winding down, but the excitement hadn't diminished. As the last few clients left, I finally had a moment to catch my breath. Aaron came over, looking just as tired but equally thrilled. "You did it, Anna," he said, giving me a hug. "This place is a hit. I can hardly believe it, I replied, looking around at the salon. It's everything I dreamed of and more. Over the next few weeks, business continued to flourish. Word spread quickly about Anna's salon, and we saw a steady stream of new clients. Each day brought new faces and new opportunities to make a difference. One afternoon, as I was working on a client's hair, Mrs. Ruby walked in. The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at her. She seemed a shadow of her former self, her demeanor less confident and more humble. "Anna," she began, her voice soft. "May I speak with you for a moment?" I nodded, finishing up with my client before stepping aside to talk to Mrs. Ruby. "What can I do for you?" She took a deep breath, looking around the bustling salon. "I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. I was wrong to fire you. You've built something incredible here, and it's clear that you're making a real difference." I was taken aback by her admission, but I appreciated her words. "Thank you, Mrs. Ruby. I'm sorry things didn't work out differently between us, but I'm glad you came by." She nodded, a hint of a smile on her face. "You show me that kindness truly does matter. I wish you all the best, Anna." As she left, I felt a sense of closure. My journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every step. The salon continued to thrive, expanding to a second location within the year. Our success wasn't just measured in profits, but in the smiles of our clients and the sense of community we had built. Anna's salon became a beacon of kindness and support, a place where everyone felt valued and appreciated. And as I stood there, looking at the bustling salon, I knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey. The power of community had lifted me up, and now, together, we were flourishing. With Anna's salon firmly established as a cornerstone of our small town, the next chapter of our journey unfolded naturally. The success and overwhelming support from the community led me to consider expanding. It was a big decision, and one that required careful thought and planning. One evening, after a particularly busy day at the salon, I sat down with Aaron and Mrs. Harris in the cozy back room, surrounded by the comforting hum of the salon winding down. "Anna, I've been thinking," Mrs. Harris began, a knowing smile on her face. "It might be time to open a second location. The demand is there, and people are already asking when you're going to expand." I nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "I've thought about it too, but it's a huge step. I want to make sure we're ready." Aaron leaned forward, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "You've built something incredible here, Anna. I've seen how much this place means to people. A second salon would give us the chance to reach even more folks and create more jobs in the community." The thought of creating more opportunities for others was a powerful motivator. We spent the rest of the evening discussing potential locations, staffing, and logistics. By the end of our meeting, a plan began to take shape. A few weeks later, I stood in front of an empty storefront on the other side of town. It was a charming space, with large windows that would let in plenty of natural light. I could already envision the bustling activity inside, the sound of laughter and conversation filling the air. Mrs. Harris and Aaron were with me, their excitement palpable. "This place has so much potential," Aaron said, looking around. "It's perfect." Mrs. Harris nodded in agreement. "We can make this into something wonderful, just like the first salon." The decision was made, and soon we were deep into the process of setting up the new salon. The experience was less daunting this time around, thanks to the support and expertise we had gained from the first venture. Volunteers from the community once again pitched in, helping with painting, decorating, and setting up the equipment. One afternoon, as we were arranging the styling stations, I noticed a familiar face walking in. It was Mr. Thompson, carrying a box of supplies. "Mr. Thompson, it's great to see you." I greeted him warmly. He smiled, setting the box down. "I wouldn't miss this for the world, Anna. You've done so much for this town, it's only right that we help you out." His words touched my heart, reinforcing the sense of community that had always been at the core of our success. We worked side by side, chatting about the future and sharing stories about the early days of Anna's salon. As the opening day of the second location approached, the excitement in the town was palpable. The grand opening was set for a sunny Saturday morning, and I could hardly contain my anticipation. We had planned a small celebration, complete with refreshments and a ribbon-cutting ceremony. On the day of the opening, the new salon was filled with the same buzz and energy that had marked the opening of our first location. The mayor, Mr. Wallace, was there to cut the ribbon once again, his pride evident as he spoke. Anna, you've not only built a successful business but also a community. Your dedication and kindness continue to inspire us all, he said, handing me the oversized scissors. Thank you, Mr. Wallace, I replied, feeling a swell of gratitude. This wouldn't have been possible without the support of everyone here. With a snip, the ribbon fell and the crowd erupted in cheers. People poured into the salon eager to see the new space and book their appointments. The atmosphere was electric, filled with joy and a sense of accomplishment. Later that day, as I moved through the salon, greeting clients and making sure everything was running smoothly, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. We had done it together. The expansion was a testament to the power of community and the importance of staying true to our values. As the evening approached, I took a moment to step outside and take in the sight of the bustling salon. Aaron joined me, a satisfied smile on his face. "Look at what you've accomplished, Anna," he said, his voice filled with admiration. Two thriving salons, both built on kindness and community. I smiled, feeling a sense of pride and contentment. It's not just me, Aaron, it's everyone. This town has shown me what's possible when we come together. He nodded, placing a hand on my shoulder. And this is just the beginning. Who knows what's next for Anna's salon? As I looked out at the vibrant scene before me, I knew he was right. Our horizons were expanding, and the future was bright. With the support of our amazing community, there was no limit to what we could achieve. The success of the second salon solidified Anna's salon as a beloved institution in our town. Business was thriving, and the impact of our work was felt far beyond the walls of the salons. But amidst all the success, I never lost sight of what truly mattered, the kindness and compassion that had brought us here. One evening, after a busy day at the salon, I sat down with Aaron and Mrs. Harris in our now familiar back room. The hum of the salon had died down, replaced by the quiet of a well-earned rest. "Anna," Mrs. Harris began, her voice thoughtful, "do you ever think about how far you've come? From that first haircut for Aaron to now, with 2 salons and a whole town behind you." I smiled, reflecting on the journey. "I do, Mrs. Harris. And I'm grateful every day. It's been incredible to see how much kindness and community can achieve." Aaron nodded, his eyes warm with pride. "You've shown everyone that true success isn't measured by money, but by the lives we touch and the connections we build." As we talked, I realized that the true currency of life had always been kindness. It was in the small gestures like offering a free haircut to someone in need, and in the larger acts of support from our community. These moments had created a ripple effect, spreading positivity and bringing people together. One afternoon, a few weeks later, a young woman walked into the salon. She looked nervous and unsure, clutching a small flyer advertising our services. I greeted her with a warm smile. "Hi there. Welcome to Anna's salon. How can we help you today?" She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Hi, I'm Emily. I recently moved to town and heard wonderful things about this place. I was wondering if I could get a haircut." "Of course, Emily, we'd be happy to help. Please have a seat," I said, guiding her to a chair. As I started working on her hair, we struck up a conversation. Emily shared her story of moving to town for a fresh start, looking for a place where she could feel at home. "I've been through a lot of changes recently," she admitted. "It's been tough, but I'm hopeful. I heard this salon was different, that it's more than just a business." I paused, meeting her gaze in the mirror. "It is different, Emily. We're a community here, and we believe in supporting one another. You're in the right place." Her eyes softened, and she smiled. "Thank you, Anna. That means a lot." By the time I finished her haircut, Emily looked like a new person, her confidence visibly restored. She thanked me profusely and left with a spring in her step, a testament to the power of kindness and connection. As the months went by, Anna's salon continued to thrive, not just as a business, but as a beacon of community and compassion. We hosted charity events, offered free services to those in need, and created a space where everyone felt welcome. One evening, as I was closing up the salon, Mrs. Ruby walked in. Her demeanor had changed from the last time I saw her. She seemed genuinely humbled and reflective. "Anna," she began, her voice soft, "I've been doing a lot of thinking since we last spoke. I've seen how your kindness has transformed this town, and it's made me realize how wrong I was." I looked at her, feeling a mixture of emotions. "Mrs. Ruby, I appreciate your honesty. It's never too late to change." She nodded, a tear escaping down her cheek. "I want to do better. I've been volunteering at the community center, trying to make amends. Your example has inspired me." Her words touched me deeply. "That's wonderful to hear, Mrs. Ruby. We all make mistakes, but what matters is how we choose to move forward." As she left, I felt a sense of closure and hope. The journey had come full circle, and the impact of our work was evident in the lives we touched. On the anniversary of the opening of our first salon, we held a community celebration. The streets were filled with laughter, music, and the delicious aroma of food from local vendors. It was a beautiful testament to the power of community and the true currency of life. As I stood on the makeshift stage, looking out at the sea of familiar faces, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Aaron stood beside me, his arm around my shoulders, and Mrs. Harris was in the front row, beaming with pride. "Thank you all for being here today," I began, my voice filled with emotion. "This journey has been incredible, and it's all because of the kindness and support of each and every one of you. Together, we've built something truly special." The crowd erupted in cheers, their faces alight with joy. It was a moment of pure connection, a celebration of the values that had brought us together. As the evening drew to a close, Aaron turned to me, his eyes reflecting the twinkling lights around us. "Anna, you've created something amazing. This town is better because of you." I smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "We did it together, Aaron. Kindness is the true currency of life, and it's brought us all here." And so as the stars lit up the night sky, we celebrated not just the success of Anna's salon, but the power of community, compassion, and the enduring impact of kindness. Our journey had shown us that the true measure of success wasn't in the money we made, but in the lives we touched and the connections we built along the way.